Here we go again. For those of you at CBS Texas who are putting this together, there's a box that comes up on Start AI Companion. Do I want to start that or not?
No.
So we're not starting AI Companion.
Nope.
Okay, so X out of that box. And now here we go in three, two, and a one. Well, here we are. It's time for another edition of Jonesing for Football as your Dallas Cowboys return to play. Another Monday night football game in Vegas against the Las Vegas Raiders. And this is Bill Jones in Dallas. There is young Cody Winstead in the Super Bowl winning city of Philadelphia, where, oh my, do the Eagles have a big Sunday night football game this week against the Detroit Lions. This is Jonesing for Football. Hello, young Cody. How are you doing as you get set for another football weekend?
Doing very well. Excited for this weekend of football, Bill Jones. The schedule is incredible. One of, if not the best weekends of the regular season. So many great games, fired up for it. But most of all, that Lions Eagles game on Sunday night. Oh, baby, that is going to be fun.
It is, and the Eagles coming off a big win over the Packers, which hurts my theory that I put out there a couple of weeks ago that if the Cowboys can win all their games before playing Philly, and then the Eagles, young Cody, they got Green Bay, and they got Detroit, and then they got Dallas, and if the Cowboys can then beat the Eagles by Thanksgiving, things could be almost knotted up in the NFC East, and they're not. They won't be. Not even
I
close.
try. I tried to tell you that theory was insane. You just kept going with it though, and come to find out, you needed the Cowboys to win all their games and the Eagles to lose all their games. When in reality, the Eagles won all their games and the Cowboys lost all their games. So it's like the exact opposite of your theory.
So now we are pushing the envelope even further, and it's almost to the point where the Cowboys were close. Just give it another week or so. By the time they play each other next week, in fact, if the Eagles beat the Lions and then the Cowboys lose to the Raiders, we might be to the point then. I haven't done the math on it, but we might be to the point then that the Eagles would have to lose all their games and the Cowboys win all their games for the Cowboys to catch them.
You're right. We're getting close to the point where the Cowboys are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, just based on.
Well, maybe
Um,
not from the playoffs. Then we would have to just turn our attention to the wild card. Right
sure.
off the top, before we get into things, let me say, obviously, it's been the worst imaginable week here at the Star in Frisco after the tragic death of Marshawn Nealon a week ago. And in fact, it was just on Thursday before the Cowboys got back on the practice field. And I think I taped the Brian Schottenheimer show on Thursday right before they went on the practice field. I think he, and it's no surprise, has done just a terrific job in handling the situation. The Cowboys, as an organization, they've got grief counselors. One thing, Jerry Jones gets criticism for other football related things, but when it comes to family, when it comes to people in his organization, when tragedy happens, he is at the forefront of taking care of matters. And so, in helping out Marshawn's girlfriend, who's pregnant, Catalina, they set up a memorial fund for her, and just in helping out the players as they reported back to work on Monday. They had team meetings with grief counselors there on Monday. They had a memorial service on Tuesday. They went ahead and gave the players another day off on Wednesday. And of course, they were able to do that because they're playing a Monday night game. So, literally, Cody, it was 10 days without being on the field since the Monday night loss to Arizona until Thursday before they were back on the field. I talked with Will McClay when I taped a segment for Cowboys Huddle, the coaches show, on Thursday, just to say, okay, even for like Dak and his receivers, from a football standpoint, Okay, they haven't been on the field together for 10 days. Did they need, or maybe they did, Dak's got a football field in his backyard. Is it a concern going from a football standpoint that they haven't been together? He said he thought that at this point of the season, he doesn't see a concern, and they've got enough time, and they have 4 days before. At that time, they had 4 days before they're playing a game to get back in rhythm and so forth. But just a horrible week at the Star, and now. Schottenheimer put it great in his press conference on Wednesday. He said, "We don't move on, but we move forward." And now they move forward to the business of playing a football game on Monday night.
Yep. Incredibly sad, but I will agree with you. I just heard some of the press conferences and the sound from some of the players and coaches. Um, just terrible,
Yeah.
emotional. I like Brian Schottenheimer said, look forward to seeing how they play on Monday night and they honor him. And it's going to be obviously very emotional, very sad, but you got to move on. You got to move
Yeah.
forward. So,
And uh, and two of those players who are great leaders on the team, Dak Prescott and Solomon Thomas, have had suicides in their hit very, very close to home as Dak's brother, and then Solomon's sister Ella at age 24, same age as Marshawn Nealand, and Solomon started the Defensive Line Foundation. I've gotten to know his mom and dad, Chris and Martha. He grew up in Coppell, right here in the Metroplex, and gotten to know them, and such a great family, such great people, and it's no surprise at all the maturity with which Solomon and Dak have approached the situation, and great guys for players on the team to lean on, even aside from the professionals, the grief counselors that have been there throughout this week and probably will continue to be close at hand. But now we move on to football, and we'll see against the Raiders, a Raiders team that actually a week ago Thursday played a very competitive game against the Broncos, a 10-7 loss. Defense getting things together, and they got Brock Bowers back on offense. So it's another aspect of this matchup is Brian Schottenheimer going up against his mentor, Pete Carroll. So that's interesting as well.
Bill Jones, I did want to ask you because this is kind of a must win for your 3-5-1 boys if they want to stay alive in that wild card situation. Do you think this Cowboys defense, because we've talked about all the transactions through the trades, plus they've got some guys coming back from injuries. I want to know from you how much better you think this defense can be in the second half of the season.
Well, you're adding Quentin Williams, one of the best three techniques in the league at defensive tackle. And by the way, you Cowboys fans, and they practiced for the first time since the trade. Seems like the trade would happen so long ago, but on Thursday was the first time they were on the field. Quentin Williams will wear number 92 for your Dallas Cowboys, and Logan Wilson, who came over in the trade with Cincinnati, should be lining up at middle linebacker and wearing number 55. And it's got to help. Now, the only thing that, from a transition standpoint, get into the new system, maybe there's something there that, that it takes a ramp up of sorts there. But we've seen how this Cowboys defense has played this year, and just as important, I think, to look for going into the game on Monday night is the return of the safeties, Donovan Wilson and Malik Hooker, who it looks like Donovan Wilson for sure. Malik Hooker may be back as well. They were both on the practice field on Thursday, and Cowboys fans are really excited about DeMarvion Overshown, and as well they should be. And the biggest improvement that can make from this defense. I mean, when you talk about all those guys thrown in together, it's got to improve what we've been seeing. My question on Overshown is how many snaps is he going to get first game back, and what kind of I would assume. And Schottenheimer kind of alluded to this because he was talking about Savone Revel, the third round draft pick, who's a rookie making his NFL debut. He does expect him to play on Monday night. And he's basically said because he's a rookie, he'll he'll be on a more limited pitch count than Overshown. So who knows? Overshown may play half the game. I don't know. If we're talking about one's more limited than the other, maybe it's 15 snaps for Revel and 25 to 30, depending on how the game goes for Overshown. But I don't think he's going to surprise us and play every snap. But, he's been running pretty well on the practice field for over a month now. And they had the advantage of having the bye after they started his 21-day window. So it's been a good month that he's been out on the practice field. But it was a really severe knee injury. So it just remains to be seen until Monday night.
Not just about this game, but the entire second half of the season, I actually feel pretty good about the Dallas defense. You look at it, you're adding Quinnen Williams, you're adding Logan Wilson, DeMarvion Overshown, Savone Revel, Donovan Wilson, and Malik Hooker. You're adding 6 starters to a unit that only plays 11 guys. More than half of your defense is different, and not just different, but significantly better. You're adding real players who have some Pro Bowls in there. You've got some guys that are going to make a huge difference. So I don't see why, especially in the secondary, Bill Jones, which is where we know that they've kind of been torched.
Kind of.
I'm sorry?
Kind of torched.
Kind of torched. I mean, you have a 3/5 of a new secondary out there potentially coming up. So I feel really good about the defense, and I think that's at least something to build on going forward. Again, I think they're not making the playoffs. Let's just be real about that. But at least you can see what you'll have moving forward and the guys that you kind of want to build around. And I think they're going to have less holes come the offseason on that defense than most people realize.
Well, and that's what we talked about last week after the trades is the key on the trades is that those 2 players are under contract for the next 2 years, Quinnen Williams and Logan Wilson. By the way, and even in regards to the safeties, Malik Hooker's got another year left on his contract. Donovan Wilson, his contract is up after this year. But, I mean, there's 5 of those 6 guys we just mentioned. As we look forward to next season, they're going to be on the field for 8 games together if they're healthy and building towards the future here. So, and that takes care, assuming they stay healthy, that should take care of some huge holes on this defense as they put this team together for 2026.
Completely agree. Let me just quickly ask you about the offense because it's been sputtering relative to what they were at the beginning of the year. Any concerns about them, or do you think they're closer to who they were the first 6 weeks or who they've been the last few weeks here?
I think things are getting exposed a little bit on that offensive line here lately, and there's an open competition, by the way, at the right tackle position with Terrence Steele and Nate Thomas. And Steele, the Monday night game, was dealing with migraines, and there was a question whether he's going to play. And then he came out late in the game. I think Nate Thomas, the 7th-round draft pick last year, who has looked promising when he's gotten the opportunity. He played 18 or 19 snaps, I think, in that game against the Cardinals, and so, and then Tyler Guyton, 1st-round pick last year, he's getting exposed a little bit. And I think they covered up some of his weaknesses early in the year, but you just can't cover them up forever. And then the last game, Cooper Beebe, what was his first game back after missing 6 games with an injury. And then you got a rookie, Tyler Booker, at right guard too. And so there's going to be growing pains there as well. And so I think that it's here at mid-season that things have gotten a little exposed on that offensive line, which is accounted for. That aside from the fact that they're playing from behind so much in these games that it affects things on offense.
Bill Jones, I said this before the season, and I'd like to go back to it. I think they should kind of shift this offensive line around. If it was me, I would go Tyler Smith at left tackle. I would put Brock Hoffman at guard. And then I would let Guyton or Steele or Nate Thomas figure out who's the best right tackle. To me, that is the best five guys you have, because right now you have somewhat issues at both tackles, Bill Jones.
Well, I will leave it up to the professionals on that. Now, to your point, Tyler Smith played left tackle in college and having not even taken a snap basically in practice his rookie year at left tackle. When Tyron Smith got hurt a week before the season started his rookie year, they moved him over to left tackle and he played well, I guess. I don't know what is that organization called that grades these players?
Don't act like you don't know your favorite website, PFF. Bill Jones, Tyler Smith is the best tackle on the team. I don't think it's even arguable. He's the best tackle on the team, but he doesn't play tackle.
Well, we haven't seen him play tackle since his rookie year. So
right, but he was a first round pick as a tackle in college and then played pretty
but
solid.
was he projected to be, even though he was a first round pick, was he projected to be a tackle or was he projected to be a multiple Pro Bowl winning highest paid guard in football when he came out? I'm not sure.
Bill Jones.
Did you see what Joe Thuney did when he played tackle last year for Kansas City? He was good for a little bit and then things kind of went south.
Understood. Who do you think is the best tackle on the team?
I'm not a professional. I can't tell you.
Okay, fine. Okay, fair, fine. We don't have to go there. All right, Bill Jones. Good Cowboys talk. Hopefully, they'll beat the Raiders, and then we'll see where we go during this Eagles and Chiefs and Lions stretch. You've also
you needed to add to that. Hopefully, they'll beat the Raiders, and then they'll beat the Eagles, and then they'll beat the Chiefs, and then they'll beat the Lions, and we'll see how they line up when the Vikings come here in mid-December.
I do like how in previous games where everyone thought the Cowboys were going to win, like the Panthers and the Cardinals, you've used the phrase like, oh, if they just take care of business, like they should just steamroll these teams and then they get beat. I like how you're not using that phrase of like, oh yeah, they're just going to take care of business here against the Raiders. Because I think we've all learned our lesson that everybody looks at the Cowboys like they should be taking care of the Cowboys, not the other way around. But
can we get on to games that matter this week?
Yeah, I'm ready to go. Okay, must-watch games of the week because, like I said, schedule's incredible. Cancel out what you're doing on Sunday because everybody should just be watching football all day, all night, like me.
I'll take that a step further. Everyone should just be watching CBS on Sunday, at least throughout the day, and then flip back over after the Sunday night game to the Score we'll be on probably at 11 o'clock on Sunday night. But start your day at 10:30 with Cowboys game day. And we get you set for not only the Monday night Cowboys game, but the rest of the day, because you'll have on CBS at noon Sunday, 6-3 Tampa Bay at 6-3 Buffalo. And then you'll have at 3:25, 5-4 Kansas City playing at 8-2 Denver. And that, my friend, is the must-watch game of the week on CBS.
That's some compelling stuff right there. The Chiefs with a chance to fall to 5-5, Bill Jones.
With the Indianapolis next week and then Dallas the week after that. They could be 5-7 by Thanksgiving night.
Let's all just say there's zero chance they're 5-7. All right. Who do you like in this game, Bill Jones? Chiefs and Broncos.
It is quite a matchup. To answer your question, I like the Chiefs.
Yeah.
It's the desperation angle. One of the main reasons, Babe Laufenberg on his elliptical is probably shouting it where the whole gym can hear it right now. Andy Reid after a bye week.
Sure.
Andy Reid after a bye week. Babe Laufenberg has the numbers. I don't have them at hand myself, but he's incredible. And so Sean Payton and the Broncos shaking in their boots in Denver as Kansas City comes to town. That stadium will be shaking. I mean,
That's
this is the
true.
first time in a decade that the Broncos have a team that is competing for, and they can take control of the AFC West. In fact, the Chargers would be even in between them and the Chiefs. If they can get to 9-2 and the Chiefs fall to 5-5, they'll be further. The Chiefs will be further out of the division than the Cowboys are in the NFC East. How about that? One of the things to look at coming into this game, the running back situation for both teams. Isaiah Pacheco battling a knee injury, has not practiced this week. J.K. Dobbins, who of course has battled injury problems throughout his career, got healthy last year, got a nice contract, or somewhat nice, well, a huge contract in my opinion, but
Yeah.
from a running back standpoint or an NFL standpoint, a nice contract with Denver this year. He has a midfoot sprain, has not practiced this week. They're contemplating whether he has to go on IR. And so now the injuries start to accumulate for the Broncos, who, of course, have been out without Patrick Surtain here the last couple of weeks, and looks like he'll be out this week. So, but the matchup itself, when you look at the Chiefs, what they are able to do both offensively and defensively with Steve Spagnuolo. I mean, the intriguing matchup is Spagnuolo's defense against Sean Payton's offense. Bo Nix has done a really good job as projected here, even before the draft last year on Jonesing for Football and the Big Green Notebook. But now he's going up against Patrick, and Mahomes has his weapons back at wide receiver. And I think Kansas City is going to go in there and somehow be able to neutralize what Vance Joseph does. That's the other matchup, Vance Joseph's defense going up against Andy Reid's offense.
Correct.
46 sacks for the Broncos. Kansas City's offensive line still is something that Mahomes is having to deal with. He will always have to deal with, it looks like. And so here we go. But I'll take Kansas City to win the game.
The three numbers I'll give you about this game. Andy Reid off a bye. You talked about it. 22-4. About this game specifically, though. Patrick Mahomes versus the Broncos, 13-1. But on the other side, Denver's won 10 in a row at home. Bill Jones, including that, would you call it, debacle in Denver when they smacked the Cowboys a few weeks ago? Is that what we called that one?
Or another debacle the week before when they beat the Giants and scored, 30 points in the fourth quarter to do it. And now the Giants are looking for a head coach.
That's true. Okay, can I give you my must-watch game, Bill Jones?
I wish you would.
One of the other monster matchups of Week 11 is the game I'll be discussing and attending. It's Lions at Eagles, Sunday Night Football, the number 1 and number 3 seeds in the NFC. Yes, the conference is loaded with the top 6 seeds all within one game of each other, but you could easily make the argument these are the two best teams of that bunch. First up, the 6-3 Lions, the big topic, Dan Campbell calling offensive plays for the second straight game. Last week, Campbell dialing up those plays. The Lions had a season high 546 total yards, including 226 on the ground. That's good for those of you wondering. What's incredible is they weren't really struggling under OC John Morton. They were 11th in yards and second in points. But after a few somewhat slower offensive games, Campbell decided to take over himself. On the other side of the ball, you got to be impressed with Detroit's defense. 7th in yards allowed, including giving up under 290 yards each of the last 3 games. Here's something to watch this weekend. The inside the 30 defense for the Lions. So like that extended red zone. Last year, the reason they went 15-2 without a bunch of their guys, mainly on defense, takeaways number 1, and 2 was that extended red zone. When teams got down there, the defense played really well. Top 3 in the league for the Lions last year in that extended red zone. This year, they're 31st, Bill Jones. So when opponents are getting into that red zone area, they're actually cashing in. The only team worse in the league this year, of course, it's your Dallas Cowboys defense. So can the Eagles cash in when they get inside the 30, inside the 20, inside the 10, or are they settling for field goals? As for the Birds, their defense starting to resemble the top ranked unit from a year ago. The key on Sunday, limiting the Lions running game, Bill Jones. Let me ask you this. Detroit has been held under 100 rushing yards 3 times this season. Guess what their record is in those games?
I'm going to say 1-1-1.
No, they don't have a tie. Their record is 0-3, Bill Jones. So, for those of you paying attention, they're 6-0 when they run for more than 100 yards. They're 0-3 when they run for fewer than 100 yards. And that plays right into Philly's hands. Rush defense allowing just 87 on the ground the last 3 weeks during their winning streak. So here's why this game is so important. An Eagles victory would move them to 8-2 with victories over the Lions, the Bucks, the Rams, and the Packers. That's 4 of the top 7 seeds in the postseason. And guess what the number 1 tiebreaker is come playoff time, Bill Jones?
That would be head to head.
It's head to head. You're exactly right. And so the Eagles will have the head to head over almost every team in the conference there. So a win would go a long way into securing that number 1 seed. And with that being said, who am I taking, Bill Jones?
You're taking the Eagles.
I am taking the Eagles. I was actually leaning towards the Lions, but I actually think Philly is the healthier team. They win on Sunday night.
And for the Lions, a couple of things. One of them, I was just really surprised that Dan Campbell taking over as the play caller last week, because it's never crossed my mind that Dan Campbell would be a play caller. you know?
Yeah, he's done it in the past, though.
Huh?
He has done it. He has called plays in the past. I did like how he had his glasses on. It was like the old man reading the menu there, and he was just dialing it up. Not very complicated what they did. They went under center more and more play action. And what do you know? 500 yards later, they have their best offensive game of the year.
All right. But the other point, and more importantly for Detroit, if they can beat Philadelphia, and you talked about tiebreaker stuff, but they can get on a little roll here where the next week they've got 3 straight home games after Philly. First against the Giants. They play Green Bay at home on Thanksgiving. How about that? You got Green Bay and Detroit as the early game, Cowboys and Chiefs the afternoon game. And then the following week, they host Dallas on a Thursday. And then they get the Rams after that. But if they can get the Philadelphia win, obviously the Green Bay game is going to be a tough one for them, but it's a payback game for what happened in the season opener. It's at home. It's a short week, all that stuff. They can get on a little 5-game winning streak here and be 10-3 going into the Rams game in mid-December, and things can really be looking up for them. But the key on that is going to Philadelphia and winning on Sunday night.
For those of you wondering, it's going to be right around 40 degrees for kickoff. So not crazy cold.
That's football weather right there.
That's football weather right there. Jared Goff can handle that. All right, Bill Jones, pressures on your signature segment. Who do you have for pressures on this week?
Well, let me just first say this. The other game that we need to mention, and we're not going to dive deep into it, but the Seahawk-Ram game is a great matchup. And it's a 3:00 game on Sunday that unless you got NFL Red Zone, nobody's going to see that game. And because the national window is on CBS and it's the Chiefs Broncos game. But what a great matchup that is. And in fact, when I first looked at the schedule, that was going to be my game of the week.
Yes.
And then I was like, well, no, I got to go Kansas City, Denver, not only because it's CBS, but because of the storylines. So originally I was going to talk Seahawks Rams, and my pressure's on was going to be on Patrick Mahomes.
Sure.
And the pressure's on me, meaning that Broncos defense and the amount of sacks they have. And the more I got to think of it, all right, Patrick Mahomes has been under pressure before. He's come through under pressure before.
A few
Real
times.
pressure's on Bo Nix in this game. And what can Bo Nix do where there's such a buildup in Denver to take control of this?
Yeah.
This is their opportunity, and it's the young second-year quarterback who is matching up against the greatest quarterback of all time
Correct.
and coming into their place. And so pressure's on Bo Nix, in my opinion. So that's who I'm going with.
Also important to note that even though the Broncos are winning games, it's more because of the defense than it is Bo Nix. Like he's under 200 passing yards the last 2 weeks. He's feeling a little heat there, and even though they're winning, Bo's not playing up to what he was last year, and even somewhat the beginning of this season. So yeah, definitely some pressure on young Bo Nix for probably the first time in his NFL career.
And one of the biggest things for him is obviously, and he's done a great job of it here early in his career, is taking care of the football. He had a couple of picks against the Raiders in their last game. And that's the other thing I guess to point out in this game is Denver's coming off a mini bye, so they're at least well rested coming into it, having played a Thursday night game last week.
For sure. Yeah. What was interesting about Nix was he's at 8 picks already. He's tied for third most in the league. So that's not what Sean Payton wants. He drafted Bo Nix to run the offense, make the plays that are there, and protect the football. And he's not protecting the football as much as he was. I think we would all agree, Bill Jones, we need to put some pressure on Josh Allen. His Bills hosting the Bucs in another great game, an early window this week. What a difference a week can make. 7 days ago, Buffalo had just beat Kansas City. They were tied with the Chiefs as the Super Bowl favorites. But after a disgusting loss to the Miami Dolphins, they now have the 6th best odds to lift that Lombardi. So what does that mean? Well, it means Josh needs to go into Superman mode over these next couple months. A lot of his numbers are even better than his MVP season from a year ago. Completion percentage, yards per attempt, and passer rating, all better than 2024. But unfortunately, it hasn't been good enough. The Bills are 6-3 and the 6th seed in the AFC playoffs. But looking at their schedule, they're going to be fighting for their playoff lives the rest of the way, Bill Jones. The games against Tampa and Philly at home. They also have Houston, Pittsburgh, and New England on the road. And speaking of the Pats, after they won again on Thursday night, they're very likely going to end Buffalo's 5-year reign as AFC East champions. So Josh and the boys won't have the advantage of playing in that brutal Buffalo cold come postseason time. And trust me, as someone who's been to multiple playoff games in Buffalo or Orchard Park, the weather is a huge advantage. They've actually won 7 of their last 9 playoff games at home. So Josh is going to need to be a man on a mission if the Bills want to accomplish their goals of winning the conference and eventually winning that Super Bowl.
Okay, I love all that. Cody, I got to tell you, just to pull back the curtain here a little bit, the dogs are barking downstairs, which
Okay.
tells me that the carpet installers might be here. We're trying to knock out this podcast before my carpet installers get here.
Okay.
So we got fantasy football, fantasy favorite still to go.
Yep. Give me your
So,
guy and I'll
no,
give you mine.
you
real
give
quick.
me your guy. I'm going to get up for a second just to look out the window to see if the carpet guy is here. And so you give your fantasy favorite right now, and then I'll give you mine and we'll wrap it up.
My fantasy favorite, Bill Jones, I'm kind of going out on a limb here because normally I've been taking really good guys against really terrible defenses, not going to lie. But this week, I'm going with somebody different and a different philosophy. Give me DK Metcalf of the Steelers. He's kind of had a roller coaster season, just like the team. 2 games with 95 plus receiving yards, but also 4 games with 35 or fewer yards. He's currently wide receiver 26 as we start the season, but I feel like Pittsburgh's going to put an extra emphasis on getting him the ball. I think he's going over 100 yards, Bill Jones. So DK Metcalf is my fantasy favorite for week 11.
I love that. I love that. And by the way, we're fine on time. It's not the carpet people.
Love it.
Yeah. So what that tells me is the vacuum in the pool has started, and so the dogs are barking at the vacuum in the pool. They think there's a monster in the pool. That's what happens every day. The timer must be off on it. It usually doesn't start this early in the morning. All right. So
All right, Bill Jones, give us your fantasy favorite as we wrap this episode up here.
all right. You love that running back in Carolina, don't you?
He's a stud. You're talking about Rico Dowdle, as long as you're not talking about
Yeah.
that Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah, now it wasn't a good week last week for the Carolina Panthers or for Rico Dowdle. He was held to like 3 yards a carry last week by the
Hold
New
on, hold on,
Orleans
hold on.
Saints.
He was running back 11, Bill Jones. Not a terrible week because I picked him last week. He was running back 11, not
Let me see.
horrible.
It was like 3 yards a carry or something.
He
Right?
had 63 total yards, 3 catches, and a touchdown.
How many-
And then he almost did the celebration, but he didn't, so he didn't get fined.
How many carries did he have?
He ended with 15 fantasy points, Bill Jones. He was
Well, we're
RB
not-
11.
We're not talking no, well, we are talking fantasy.
Kind of the point of the segment. It's called
Um,
fantasy favorites.
Wait a second. Now I had him down for 18 carries for 53 yards, plus he had 3 receptions for 10 yards. It gets him to 63.
Thank you.
53 divided by 18 is like 2.9 yards a carry is what he had last week. This is where fantasy football is just that. It's fantasy. Okay. All right. And they only scored 7 points, but Rico got him the touchdown, right?
Yes,
All right.
sir.
My point on all of that is this. The Carolina Panthers are traveling to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. The guy that's been missing in that Falcons defense, and one of the big reasons that Atlanta's defense is kind of gone sideways here lately, Divine Diablo. Divine Diablo, who happens to be, I checked this like on that, what's that organization again? Pro
Bill,
Football Focus?
Bill, you are the biggest proponent of PFF. You're the biggest supporter.
All right. He ranks among linebackers who have played 50% of the snaps. He has surrendered the fewest yards both in run and coverage. Did you know that? Divine Diablo of the
What a
Atlanta Falcons.
beast.
Huh?
What a beast.
Yeah. He's still out. He's going to miss another week.
Mm.
Load up on Rico Dowdle, a comeback game for the Carolina Panthers, playing at the Atlanta Falcons. And so he's my fantasy favorite this week.
Good point. I like where your head's at, Bill Jones. If you mentioned 2.9 yards a carry for Rico, let me give you his 5 weeks prior to that. 9.0 yards per carry, 6.1, 4.6, 6.8, 5.2. And then last week he had the 2.9. So Rico's on fire. And not surprisingly, the Panthers won 4 of those 5 games during that stretch.
By the way, and as far as Divine Diablo being out of the lineup for the Falcons, and remember, the Falcons had Nate Landman at linebacker last year, and they opted to move away from him. And what's he doing with the Rams this year? He's just tearing it. He is like the Zach Bond on the Rams defense this year. But they decided to sign Divine Diablo from the Raiders instead in the middle of their defense. Once they lost Diablo, the 9th play of the San Francisco game, which was a 20-10 loss, they played Miami the next week and gave up 34 points, lost 34-10. They lost to New England the following week, 24-23. And then last week against the Colts, you saw what Jonathan Taylor did against them in Berlin. And so now it's Rico Dowdle's turn. So load up on Rico against this Falcons defense because they don't have Divine Diablo.
I like that a lot, Bill Jones. And also, like player props wise, after a rough day for Rico, his numbers probably come down a little bit. You can probably get him at a manageable over under rush total or daily fantasy, a lower price. Boom, go big on Rico.
All right, very good. That's stuff you won't get anywhere else, right?
Yeah, except like all the betting podcasts, except for except all the betting podcasts. But we like to mix in a little bit of fantasy, a little bit of betting, a little bit of just normal football analysis. We do it all here, Bill Jones.
Okay, I got some furniture to move before the carpet installers get here. So I'm going to go down there and do that. And we got a nice, boy, it's just so strange. The Cowboys not playing on another Sunday, but we have to wait till Monday night for them to play. It's like 5 out of 6 Sundays where the Cowboys don't play. The only Sunday they play during this stretch from basically Halloween until mid-December is the Eagles game next week.
Yep. And I was looking at it. The Cowboys play again prime time. They just played 2 weeks ago prime time. They have two more prime time games coming up in the next month. They got week 14 and week 15. So get ready to see those 3-8-1 Cowboys or 4-7-1 Cowboys in your prime
You're
time.
giving them a win. You're giving them a win. How about that? All right.
I'm giving them away against the Raiders. They got to win this week. They're winning this week, Bill Jones. Come on,
Okay.
let's go.
All right, get back on track. All right, that does it for Jonesing for football for this week. And catch us on that CBS News Texas stream every week. Catch us wherever you get your podcast every week. And I've got Cowboys game day on Sunday morning at 10:30. The Score on Sunday night. Gonna give you some of my sit down with Brian Schottenheimer on Sunday night as we get ready for the debut of Quinnen Williams, Logan Wilson, the return of DeMarvion Overshown, the debut of Savone Rebel. What a Monday night it's going to be.
Doomsday Defense Part 2 or Part 3 if you count those 90s Cowboys defense as Doomsday. But I'll be at Lions Eagles, Sal Palantonio and I. Game starts 8:20 Eastern, Bill Jones. We're on site 7 a.m., baby. We got a 9 o'clock hit. We're going to be in all the shows on SportsCenter, NFL Countdown on ESPN all morning. It's a huge game. We're going to be there covering it all. So check that out if you get a chance.
And the best news of all for you is, and it's sort of like Tony Romo on Thanksgiving when he gets to do the Cowboys Chiefs game. He doesn't have to leave home, and you do not have to leave home, and you can do your job this week.
Exactly. I got a 20-minute drive home after the game. Love it.
All right, that does it for Jonesing for football. We will see you again next week right here on Jonesing
For football. Love you, babe.